Each nationality has a stereotype. Brazilians? Carnival, caipirinha, and a big butt woman dancing samba. Italians? Pizza and talks with hands. The French? Wine and arrogance. However, when it comes to Indians, no one really remembers Bollywood, yoga, or their spirituality anymore. What goes viral are people cutting lines, littering, and turning an airplane into a party. Oh, and crowding public pools to harass women in bikinis. Picture this. You travel, get to immigration, hand over your passport, and the officer looks at it, laughs, and says, "You're not getting through with this." That's exactly what happened to an Indian man who described it as one of the most humiliating experiences of his life. And that's what we're going to explore now, because when even Indians themselves say, "We deserve the hatred we get abroad," then, my friend, something is very wrong. And now you'll find out, why are Indians so hated in the West?
It's not Canadian.
Okay, so where should I go back to?
North. You are living in Canada and I want you to go away.
Okay, but I am Canadian.
Go back to India.
I'm Canadian, ma'am, but...
Your parents are not Canadian and your grandmother is not Canadian either.
What did I do to you? I just want to understand. What did I do to you?
Number 1. Patriotic colonization. You know that story about how when Brazilians travel, they always make it work to find rice, beans, and farofa anywhere in the world? Well, now imagine that, but elevated to the nth degree. Because an Indian, oh my friend, he doesn't just bring his culture with him, he brings his culture and builds a mini India right in the neighbor's backyard. You'll see this all the time in Canada, the US, England, it doesn't matter where. There's always a street that becomes an Indian wedding venue, with loud music blaring until 3 in the morning, people dancing right on the sidewalk, and neighbors trying to get some sleep with a pillow shoved over their heads. It's as if the entire neighborhood became a Bollywood movie set without permission. Do you want an example? There was a Canadian woman who went viral because she needed to wake up early for work and, wouldn't you know, the Indian wedding on her street had been happening for 3 days straight. It's truly no exaggeration. Loud music, people dancing, honking, drums. It was as if the damn carnival had migrated from India straight to the woman's doorstep. And get this, it wasn't in a party hall, it was literally in the middle of the street. Picture this. You're going to enjoy a sunny day at Wasaga Beach in Canada. You step on the soft sand and come face to face with a little surprise that didn't come from a dog. Yeah, there were so many reports of people literally relieving themselves on the beach that the Premier of Ontario himself, Doug Ford, had to stop everything and drop the most unexpected line of his political career: "Don't poop on the beach." Indeed, the leader of a whole province dedicated microphone time to remind everyone of basic etiquette. Toilets are available, please use them. But naturally, the internet showed no mercy whatsoever. The issue, which should have just been disgusting, became fuel for a storm of xenophobic comments, pointing fingers at immigrants as if basic hygiene is stamped on a passport. In the end, an already ridiculous episode turned into a debate about immigration, prejudice, and who is making the beach dirtier. And then comes the question outsiders ask: if you want to recreate India here, why didn't you stay there? It's tough to hear, but one can understand the frustration. Because it's one thing to celebrate your culture, it's another to impose it in a public space without caring if you're bothering everyone around you. And check this out. In a viral internet video, you'll witness Indians dancing with incredible energy, while the city's contracted band, Poor Things, is in the background, trying to play something no one can even hear. And the comments? There are many foreigners who are saying, Indians are ruining our public image. And that statement is not an exaggeration. In many places across Europe and North America, you don't typically see other communities doing these kinds of things with such regularity. Of course, every immigrant brings their own traditions, but Indians have this almost daily habit of turning the street into an extension of India. And that's where the culture shock comes in, because from the perspective of those already living in these countries, you're basically importing a problem that isn't theirs. To them, you should adapt, integrate, and not rebuild your homeland in someone else's backyard. But no. Instead of building bridges, many people feel that Indians put up invisible walls, live among themselves, speak only to each other, and don't mix. The result? The lasting impression is of people occupying space, yet making no effort to truly connect.
So I'm at a Jason Derulo concert, Derulo, whatever his name is, in Tirana, Albania. I was waiting in line when a group of 4 girls suddenly appeared and brazenly cut in front of everyone. When I politely brought it to their attention, they repeatedly told me to return to my own country, then proceeded to laugh in my face. And they laughed, called me their mother and stuff like that. So yes, I genuinely feel incredibly welcome in Albania. Really excellent work. Thank you very much.
2. A lack of civic sense. Now let's address a more serious matter, what's often called civic sense, or rather, its absence. Because if there's one thing that truly irritates foreigners, it's when you display no consideration at all for public spaces or for others around you. And here's where the clash occurs. In places like Canada, Australia, or Europe, civic sense means waiting your turn, respecting quiet, and disposing of trash properly. However, in India, the approach is quite different. It's like, my problem is more important, therefore, I'll go first. You must have witnessed this at airports, haven't you? There's an organized line with everyone patiently waiting. Then out of nowhere, an Indian guy shows up, pretends he didn't see you, slips in front of you, and that's it. He acts like it's the most normal thing in the world. And if you complain, he'll look at you like, huh? What's the problem? And it doesn't stop there. In traffic, it's a whole other show. People driving the wrong way, cutting you off without looking, honking excessively as if that would solve the traffic jam. And when you ask why, the answer is always the same. That's just how it is here. But the scene that most clearly shows this lack of common sense came from an Indian influencer with over 1 million followers. A guy got on a plane, pulled out his speaker, and began blasting loud music right in the middle of the flight. Yes, actually inside the plane. People were tired and just wanted to rest, but he acted like he was at a flying after-party. And there's more. Litter. If you've ever traveled throughout India, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's bottles flying out of bus windows, food wrappers scattered on the ground, piles of plastic accumulated in tourist areas. And people do it so casually, as if littering were just part of the trip. The problem is, when this behavior crosses borders, the image it creates is devastating. Because in the West, if you're cutting lines or dirtying a public space, you're not just rude, you become a walking stereotype. And that brings up the question that begs to be answered. When people get annoyed, is it racism or just a consequence of repeated behavior? Tell me, if you were on that plane, would you stay quiet? If you've ever been annoyed by a similar scene, send this video right now to that irresponsible friend of yours who loves to blast their JBL speaker at the beach, thinking they're providing the world's soundtrack. I want to see if he'll still claim it's normal after witnessing this. 3. Misogyny and sexism. Now comes the heaviest part, Indian sexism. And I'm not referring to the subtle sexism that can be observed in various cultures, no. I'm referring to explicit, truly embarrassing situations that would undeniably leave any foreign woman in utter shock. There's a video making the rounds where an Indian man, without any filter whatsoever, makes direct comments to a foreign woman that sound exactly like harassment. He probably thought it was a joke, but to any outsider, it sounds like a threat. It's a moment where even the viewer feels second-hand embarrassment. And then you understand why so many women report feeling unsafe while in India, don't you? It's not mere paranoia. It's because in many places, basic respect simply doesn't exist. He stares, comments, tries to touch them, and thinks it's normal. And the worst part is, it only takes a handful of clueless men to give all the others a bad name. There can be polite, caring, and supportive Indian men, of course there are, but the respectful guy doesn't go viral on the internet. What goes viral is the video of some creep trying to grab a tourist on the street, and that image sticks. So much so that today, in many places, when they speak of Indian men, the first thing that comes to mind is not technology, Bollywood, or spirituality. It's the stereotype of sexism and disrespect towards women. Here's the irony. India exports CEOs, presidents of giant companies, and successful people worldwide. However, a single disgusting comment made in the street weighs more heavily than all those combined resumes. Because in people's minds, a CEO might be brilliant, but the common Indian man continues to be seen as a problem. 4. The image, completely ruined. But how can the reputation of an entire nation be so tarnished by a senseless minority? Consider this with me. India stands as one of the world's most ancient nations, boasting a rich, age-old culture, magnificent temples, and a culinary tradition renowned globally. There are also the tech geniuses CEOs of Microsoft, Google, and MasterCard, all of whom are Indian. But on the internet, what really goes viral? It's not the individual who became a CEO, it's the 3-day wedding that blocked off a street in Canada. It's the video of a crowd dancing in the middle of a square in London as if Big Ben were a Bollywood set. It's the crazy guy who decided to turn the plane into a party. One person does it, and everyone else pays the price. Every time someone throws trash out the window, cuts in line, or makes a gross joke to a woman, it reinforces the stereotype that Indians are uneducated, disrespectful, and don't know how to live in a society. And then it's no use crying racism because the foreigner isn't looking at your passport, they're looking at your behavior. The problem isn't the color of your skin, it's the attitude that sticks like a trademark. The most curious aspect is this. It truly doesn't matter if 90% of Indians living abroad are honest, educated, and diligent individuals. That loud 10% has already ruined the party for everyone. It's just like here in South America. There can be millions of good people, but just one video of a mass robbery on the beach is enough to reinforce the stereotype that all Latinos are thieves. Coming in at number 5, the culture shock in Europe. But let's be clear, this specific problem isn't exclusive to Indians. Europe is currently experiencing the same problem with other migrant groups, and that's when things become even more explosive. In Germany, for instance, some cities completely banned male migrants from public pools. Why? Because it became a regular occurrence. A white woman in a bikini enters the water, and about half a dozen men appear, acting as if their pool admission included a VIP pass for unwanted attention. There was even an instance where a refugee attempted to grope a 14-year-old girl in the water. This is not an isolated incident either. In Belgium, Austria, France, the list goes on. It's always the same scene, groups of 5 or 6 men surrounding a solitary woman. If anyone tries to defend her, the group then assaults. And that's exactly where the cultural clash hits hard. In the West, a bikini simply means beachwear. For many of these guys, it signals an invitation. That's when local outrage erupts. Europeans see it and think, hold on, we open our doors, give homes, provide subsidies, and in return, what do we receive? Cases of harassment and violence. And the worst part is, it's not just women who suffer. There was even a lifeguard in Melbourne who was assaulted by a gang simply because he tried to maintain order at the pool. The guy was just doing his job, the bare minimum, and he became a punching bag. And just look at the irony. While European women are escaping harassment in the 21st century, some woke politician is on TV claiming it's merely cultural shock and that we need greater tolerance. Greater tolerance, really? Go tell that to the 12-year-old girl who was just harassed in a public pool. It's the same old logic, always repeating itself. Instead of demanding respect from the newcomers, they prefer to blame the victim or just turn a blind eye. And guess what happens? People start bottling up their anger. 6. Woke ideology and the silence. And that's where the ingredient that makes this pressure cooker even more dangerous comes in. Woke ideology. Because think about it. If you have hundreds of cases of harassment happening in pools, at parties, and even in the middle of the street, what would be the normal response? Investigate, punish, and establish order, right? But no. In Europe, many politicians and even the police prefer to turn a blind eye to these situations. The fear of being branded racist is so immense that it's considered better to allow a woman to be accosted in a public place than to confront the truth. Then come the educational campaigns, which seem like a joke. There was a pool in Germany that put up a poster against harassment showing a white woman harassing a migrant. Ha ha ha! That's right. Instead of depicting the actual issue, they fabricated a situation that rarely occurs, simply to prevent causing offense. It's the typical reversal of the narrative. The outcome? No one gives it any credence. The victims feel abandoned, and the aggressors realize they can act without fear of punishment. And the worst part is, this whole charade isn't fooling anyone anymore. The average citizen watches the circulating videos, reads the news, hears neighbors' accounts, and realizes reality doesn't align with the official narrative. And when people sense the media and government are openly lying, trust simply evaporates. The irony of the century: in the name of inclusion, they've created an environment where violence is ignored. And so, the message that remains is simple. If you are a woman and you're being harassed, it's your problem. Your safety is less important than scratching the progressive image of tolerance. And when that happens, my friend, it's just a matter of time until the pot starts to boil over. 7. The grim future. And then comes the part no one dares to speak aloud. What occurs when the populace loses its patience? Because this combination of clueless behavior and a lack of civic sense, along with sexism and the complicit silence of politicians, creates fertile ground for a truly dangerous reaction. This isn't a conspiracy theory, just look at history. When the population feels betrayed, unsafe, and voiceless, someone always shows up promising to force a solution. That's when the rhetoric of authoritarian leaders starts to grow, and it won't be in just one country. The tendency is for a strong-willed leader to sprout up in various places simultaneously. Not necessarily a dictator with a little mustache, but hardline politicians, saying what many people are already thinking in silence. Enough with immigration, enough with multiculturalism. We'll deport them all. And the most tragic part? When this wave comes, it won't separate the wheat from the chaff. Everyone will pay the price. Even the grandchild of an immigrant born in Paris or Berlin 3 generations ago will be seen as an intruder. In other words, the behavior of a few can put millions of innocent people in the line of fire. And here's the provocative question. Is the problem just racism and prejudice, or is there something deeper going on? Because the way things are going, it's not a matter of if things will go wrong, but when. And honestly, looking at the situation, it seems like when is a lot closer than we think. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the world hates Indians and other immigrants just because of prejudice? Or is it because behavior really matters more than skin color? Comment below, because this debate is going to be a big one. And hey, don't leave the video just yet. Click on what's appearing on the screen, because if you thought this was heavy, the next one is even more so. Oh, and remember, don't poop on the beach. Thanks, and see you later.